Every country tells itself a story. Japan tells itself a story about harmony. South Korea tells itself a story about resilience. But what happens when the story meets reality? Tonight on the World Identity Desk, we're putting two of Asia's greatest success stories under the microscope, Japan and South Korea. Same Confucian roots, same region, same wealth, widely different philosophies. Let's find out why. Before we compare, let's define our terms. A national philosophy is a system of thought, moral, political, cultural, that a nation builds its identity around. It shapes laws, schools, even how people think about loyalty and sacrifice. Without it, a country has no shared compass. With it, well, that's what we're about to see.
Thanks. Reporting from the Japan desk, Japan national philosophy starts with a messy area, the idea of a kokukai, a national identity centered on the emperor, but everything changed in 1945. Defeat in World War II forced a total invention, a new constitution, democracy, and most famously, Article 9, which renounced war entirely. Out of a ash came something historians call the development stage. Discipline, teamwork, and economic sacrifice become a priority duty. This is a philosophy of harmony. Put the good before yourself and the national rights with you. It is the same spirit you see in the Japanese classroom today. Students don't just study, they clean their own classroom and serve their own lunch. That is a national building, one classroom at a time.
Hi, here is a Korean desk. South Korean national philosophy is brought in Hongyi England, which means the broader benefits of humanity. Rather than focusing only on individual success, this philosophy encourages people to contribute to society and work for the common good. It continues to influence how South Korea approaches education, citizenship, and national development today. However, it's difficult to understand modern South Korea without first understanding the hardship that shaped the nation. Korean experienced Japanese colonial rule, the devastation of the Korean War, and many years of military dictatorship. These historical events left the country economically weak and socially divided, creating an urgent need to rebuild both the nation and the society. One of those difficult circumstances come with what is not known as miracle on Han River. South Korea transformed itself from one of the poorest countries in the world into one of the world's leading economies within only a few decades. This rapid modernization was driven largely by an outstanding commitment to education. Education became much more than simply going to school. It was widely viewed as the most reliable path to improve one's life, supporting one's family, and contribute to national development. This explains the phenomenon often referred to as Koreans' education fever. Many parents send their children to hagwons or private academies where students continue studying until late at night in preparation for important examination. Perhaps the best example of how seriously education is taken is the annual National College Entrance Examination, which is the examination that Koreans fight to entrance the outstanding college. On that day, the entire country adjusts its daily routine. Traffic is carefully managed, business open later, and even airplanes is temporarily grounded during the English listening examination to minimize noise and ensure the student is concentrated. These outstanding measures clearly demonstrate how education has become a national priority and a symbol of hope for future generations. South Korea's democracy was achieved through the efforts of its own person. Throughout the 1980s, students, workers, and citizens organized large-scale demonstrations demanding democratic reform. Their collective effort eventually brought an end to military dictatorship and laid the foundation of the democratic system that South Korea is today.
When you first look at Japan and South Korea, they can seem completely different. But if we take a step back, we can see that both countries actually share the same foundation. Both nations are deeply influenced by Confucian's value. These values emphasize respect for education, respect for elders and authority, and the idea that the success of the group is more important than individuals' achievement. Another similarity is how both countries connect economic success with national pride. After World War II, Japan experienced what became known as the economic miracles, transforming itself into one of the world's strongest economies. South Korea followed a similar path with the miracles on the hand rebuilds, rising from poverty to become global leaders in technology and innovations. In both cases, hard work and economic growth became symbols of patriotism. Their education systems also go beyond teaching academics such as schools are used to build a sense of belonging and shared values. In Japan, this is done through moral educations. When students learn responsibilities, respect, and cooperation. In South Korea, civic education is led by principles of Honggi, which means to broadly benefit humanity. This encourages students to think about contributions not only to themselves but also to society. You could say that they're different songs but play on the same instrument.
But the differences run just as deep. Japan builds identify around the pacifism. Peace is the point of the pride. Korea builds identify around violence, and the country technically still is a war. This is the northern half. Japan democracy came from the above, handed down by American occupiers. Korea democracy came from the below, wow thought protest. And look how each country sees the world. Korea exported its culture, K-pop, K-dramas, Hallyu, as a tool of the nation's pride and soft power. Japan, historical that the more invasion of the looking the more protection of the unique USS. So, youngest generation are starting to push back on that.
We built this peace with our own hands. Article 9 is sacred.
I know, but the war isn't what we want. It was in 1947, but we're still arguing about a constitution from the other century.
This is Japan's real tension, a philosophy built on pacifism, facing a world that's getting more dangerous, with a younger generation that didn't live through the trauma that created the philosophy in the first place.
Study harder is to get into the university. It is only one way to get a successful life.
But everyone is exhausted, and nobody our age wants to get married or have kids anymore. Is this miracle even working on us?
So, and that's Korea's challenges, the philosophy of the sacrifice for the growth. But the growth that's no longer the feels guaranteed. It's part of why Koreans now has no lowest birth rate in the world.
So, two nations, two philosophies, one lesson. National philosophy isn't a fixed inheritance you're born into. It's a living negotiation between governments and citizens, between the old generation and the new, between the story a nation tells about itself and the reality that story eventually has to face. Japan and South Korea proved that a strong national philosophy can rebuild a country from rubble. The real question is whether that philosophy is honest and flexible enough to carry the next generation forward. This has been the Word Identity Desk. Thanks for watching.